Hello, everyone. Welcome to the inaugural 6x8 Recovery Top of Mind webcast series. I'm Jeff Higley, president of the BHN Group, and I want to welcome each and every one of you. As you know, the BHN Group oversees hotel investment conferences around the world. It's been a unique and scary time for all of us throughout this global pandemic, and the quest for knowledge is more pronounced than ever. Today's webcast is called ALIS 6x8. Recovery Top of Mind. While the ALIS's focus is on the Americas, today's discussion will undoubtedly touch on topics that resonate throughout the globe. The next gentleman is one of the industry icons. Mit Shah is a second-generation hotelier following in his father Bharat's footsteps. He's founder and CEO of Noble Investment Group, which primarily invests in upscale select service and extended stay hotels. Mit, welcome.
Thank you, Jeff. This has been a great day so far. I really appreciate you having me.
Well, we appreciate you being here, and you win the Patience Award for today. Thank you for hanging along in the green room.
Thank you.
So the question of the day, what's on the top of your mind today as we sit, in month 3 of this adventure?
Yeah, I really think it's been interesting, the perspectives of all of our mutual friends and colleagues, that have gone before me, and thinking about, just how long this recovery could take. And if you just stay with the general theme around it being 2023, and you look to what's been happening in our industry, this has really only been a phenomenon that we've seen for the last 2 months in terms of shelter in place and the like. But if you see the public companies in our space and what they've done, this has been a mad dash against this recovery timeline for liquidity and cash burn that companies are trying to solve for. So the very front of my mind, it's thinking about this. How do you compartmentalize the timeline for recovery with what does that actually mean from a cash burn standpoint? And then, thinking about what companies have been doing in terms of shoring up their balance sheets, during that time period. The second thing I'm thinking about is really the great opportunity that we have in front of us for significant structural change in terms of the operating model for our business. I think, and I'll just, give you a frame of reference. We've had kind of very, very benign RevPAR growth now for, really the last 2 years. Again, significant cost increases. And there really hasn't been much done structurally to the operating model that allows that to be far more in balance. And there's a window of opportunity that we're all in today in order to change that. So let me go back to the first topic point and talk about recovery, liquidity, cash burn. If you look at kind of, the public companies that clearly have the most transparency, you can they serve as a proxy for the industry. They've really looked at their balance sheet and said, we need 2 years worth of liquidity at current numbers in order to have enough cash on our balance sheet to give us that run rate. So that essentially means through the second quarter of 2022 is what they're really looking for. Now, that might be too much. It might be just enough, but that's certainly what they've undertaken. So you've seen situations whereby capital has been drawn on all lines of credit. There've been the first bond deals ever to be done in our industry that my dear friend Tom Baltimore did with Park Hotels is pricing today. $550 million unsecured gives them 2 years of run rate. And this all goes back to Dan Hansen said something that I thought was really spot on. He's one of the great leaders in our industry. And he kind of characterizes it to say, look, in our space, and this was on his quarterly earnings call, you have to have a $25 RevPAR in select service, 25% occupancy at $100 in order to break even at the operating line in a current environment like we're in today. And that kind of makes sense if you just think about kind of just the cost of keeping a hotel open, breaking even before debt service, and fixed costs. Well, that number moves, he said to 50% at $100. I think it's probably closer to 60% at $100 with really, call it 1-to-1 debt, not really more than that, in order to kind of break even after debt service, and what a normal debt service, less, not including amortization, et cetera. So if you just think about that for a second and you look at a recovery timeline, when do we get between 50 to 60% occupancy at $100. When does that happen? And for a hotel and kind of, representing that, it'll burn through, after debt service, about $50,000 a month. Now, today, that select service owner that Arnie talked about at the very beginning that he's really concerned about, and Dave Johnson said the exact same thing, they've received PPP loans, which really helps. They've gotten forbearance for the next 90 days, and perhaps that can go to 120 days, perhaps, even just a little bit longer. And they're able to use their FF&E reserves in order to kind of deal with, the cash burn. All of those things will tend to run out here likely by the time we get to the fourth quarter of this year. And so we've been, speaking to a lot of owner operators in our space that have come to us about, providing them capital that, gives them a lifeline through next year. Because we believe that the run rate, will continue to go. And you'll ask me a question that you've asked kind of everybody else in terms of where are we in the recovery here. But if you just say that 2023 is what we've got to get to, there's a lot more time where there's going to be cash burn, and there's a lot more time in which you have to have liquidity. So I think, for our industry, we can really look at the public companies as a proxy and make sure that, there's enough liquidity there so that you're just, not betting on the fact that the industry will recover by the end of this year in order to get to that 60% occupancy at $100 for an average hotel, while, kind of the liquidity is kind of run out. I think, one of the great comments, and, I lived through this like many others, for 27 years in our business across multiple different, cycles here. And there's always a decision that you have to make, is that do you invest a new dollar into something, versus investing into, to something else. And that's, I think, where, a lot of owners in our space are going to have to start making decisions here sooner as opposed to later as we get towards the end of the year when some of the easy liquidity is passed.
Let me jump in here for a second then, Mitt. What's the toughest decision an owner has to make today?
Well, the first thing is that they've, if it's a CMBS loan that they've got, do they keep making the CMBS loan payment, or do they allow it to go into, master servicing, where, some of the protocols there are very, very punitive. And I think, for so many, people used to ask us all the time, who do you compete with? And most often we compete, if we're trying to buy a hotel from a local developer, owner, operator, the CMBS market. You finance a hotel at 75, 80% of value, you cash out all your money. And that's, in a very, very good scenario. So that's the tough decision that they've got to deal with, which is, having to, make that determination there. I mean, look, a lot of the hard decisions in terms of layoffs and staffing, rehiring, all of that, has continued to take place. Those are some of the really big decisions early on that they have. But right now, it's every dollar liquidity. Where does it go?
Yeah. Okay. Transactions this year, Mitt, will we see any?
Yeah, we'll see some. I mean, Mark, look, Mark is really one of the very best in the business, as you know. Elliot, who you just spoke with. And, I think, again, if you're in this business, you have to be an optimist. And so if you're an advisor or a broker in this business, you too have to be an optimist, right? You have to say, here's what values are going to be. There will be transactions, but one of the reasons why there hasn't been any transactions yet is that if you think about the numbers that they're given, hey, it's a 40% discount. Hey, it's a 35%, 30% discount. Well, that's basically the equity that most owners have in it. So why is there a necessity in which to trade, an asset if, the fact that essentially all you're doing is covering the equity? It's a big question. Right now, if you talk to lenders in the space, balance sheet lenders, bank lenders, debt funds, mortgage REITs, the real question that they're worried about is their dollar good, right? And so think about it. There might be a mezz piece in front of that, and there's definitely equity in front of that. And they're worried right now is that what is the mark in terms of their loan? It just tells you that there's more to come in which from a time frame, to go forward. Let me add one comment on the second piece, the structural change in our business, because this is really important. There will be a housekeeping change in operation. One thing that's really important to note is that this isn't all of a sudden hotels are clean. We've always been always been the safest form of accommodations in, the entire, lodging universe. And so when you think about the chemicals that are going to be used, that are being used today in order to clean our rooms and to ensure guest safety, many of them are the exact same chemicals that we were using in our hotels in 2003 when we were protecting our guests from SARS. So this has been something whereby, health safety has always been a cornerstone for our industry. Physical safety that has as well. I think it'll be interesting to watch how the alternative lodging universe plays in that realm. We will really be able to, as a industry, be able to promote guest safety in a meaningful way. But go back to the cost environment, something that, again, has been a real important discussion topic between the brands with brand standards and owners. We now have an opportunity to certify, for a guest that their room has been cleaned when they check in. It is something that is very clearly a direction that owners and brands need to work on together, such that, housekeepers, and room clean during a stay starts, going away. And we end up in a situation whereby we certify a stay before they come in, and certainly between cleans, between guests there. But during the stay, we're able to not have people in their room. That helps guest safety. It also takes out a significant cost. Breakfast buffets, the eggs and all the things that you put underneath the buffet with the cook and the like in a select service operation was never really supposed to be there to begin with. Going back to a grab and go option that is healthy, that is safe, and that also satisfies that customer is also direction. There is a significant group of owners and operators in our industry that have coalesced around this topic with the HNLA, with AHOA, coming together with direct lines. Each of the brands have done a great job setting up these committees about the new standard of operation going forward. This is a great opportunity that we have, that we cannot miss, to change the paradigm of our operating. And it's not about commoditizing our business. It's about doing the right thing for our future profitability.
All right, great. 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Are we in a recovery? If not, when?
Well, of course, the weekly stats will tell us that things are getting less bad. But I think, as everyone has kind of remarked, and certainly what everyone on Zoom today can acknowledge, is that it is going to take some time. Remember all the baseball analogies we used to get tired of, sitting around and having, what inning are we in, what inning are we in? We really do not know. We just know that it's going to be long. And I do believe that the combined benefit of having an industry that is more together than it ever has been to fight on this together. We're going to have a therapeutic. We're going to have a vaccine. We will leave our homes. We are going to travel again, and this industry is going to be back. It is just going to take some time for us to get there.
All right, very good. We may only be in batting practice right now, Mitt. We might be talking about this for a while.
We might.
So, Mit Shah, thank you very much for being part of it and sharing your insights to close the program. We really appreciate you being here, Mitt.
Thank you, Jeff. It's been a pleasure, and thank you all that joined us today.
We'll see you.